Hey guys, what is up? It is the Fast Break Report here, bringing you guys another vlog. So, according to Shams, the Memphis Grizzlies have expressed interest in acquiring Brooklyn Nets forward Kevin Durant. And I'm gonna be honest, man, I like the fit. They're a team that could actually pull off a trade for Kevin Durant. Granted, it would leave them a little strapped for cash, I think. I mean, how much is Ja Morant making? I think $12 million a year. All right, so maybe it's not too bad. But they're a team that, they finished second in the West last year. I forgot what their record was, but they finished, oh wait, these are 2023 standings. Hold on. Last year, they finished, second in the West with 56 wins and 26 losses. And I'm going to be honest, that's what Ja Morant really needs, is a solidified number two. Jaren Jackson Jr. is good, don't get me wrong, but he's not like, a generational type talent. You know what I'm saying? He's going to be good. Like, honestly, he's kind of like Kristaps Porzingis, if we're being honest, numbers-wise. He can shoot the three. He blocks shots. He rebounds a little bit. He scores about 13 to 15 a game. You know what I'm saying? He's a solid player. I mean, I'm just curious to see what he did last season because I haven't looked into it really. But last season, as of June, apparently Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to be out for 4 to 6 months. He underwent surgery on his foot, and it was updated June 30th of 2022. Ja Morant's going to need a number two. Jaren Jackson Jr. last year played 78 games. He started 78 games, scored 16 a game, averaged almost 2.5 blocks a game. 1 assist a game, 6 rebounds, shot 82% from the free throw line. He shot 31% from 3, which leaves a lot to be desired, and shot 41% from the field. So, efficiency-wise, he left a lot to be desired, but, he's still, he's only 22 years old. There's still a lot of room for improvement there. And Kevin Durant kind of also, in this situation, gets the ability to do what he wanted to do in Brooklyn. The Memphis Grizzlies are a little bit, they're obviously in a smaller market than the Brooklyn Nets are. It's just like Kevin Durant gets to go there, be arguably a 1B or a 1A. Ja Morant will probably become the 1B, but Ja Morant is a damn good player. I think, I would argue, he wasn't in the MVP conversation much last year, but he should have been. If you ask me, Ja Morant should have been in the MVP conversation ahead of DeMar DeRozan every day of the week. You know what I'm saying? Ja Morant played his ass off last year. And really, I think the main reason DeRozan was ahead of him was because DeRozan was just doing it on better efficiency. But, there's a legitimate argument to be made that Ja Morant should have been ahead of DeMar DeRozan last year in the MVP race. And I think that as well. But, if you add Ja Morant and Kevin Durant together, they become a scary team. They just had a really good draft. They got, who'd they get? Kennedy Chandler, I think. If we look at their roster, they were a team that had a very, very good draft. They got Kennedy Chandler in the draft out of Tennessee. He's a good guard. They just signed Tyus Jones, who's a really good guard. So they have at least 3 solid guards on their team between, Ja Morant, Kennedy Chandler, and Tyus Jones. Tyus Jones obviously going to be the backup. Kennedy Chandler will get garbage time minutes. But they also drafted, Vince Williams Jr. out of VCU, Kenneth Lofton Jr. out of Louisiana Tech, David Roddy out of Colorado State, who actually ended up playing. He's almost like a Draymond Green. You know what I'm saying? He reminds me of Draymond Green. We have yet to see how that's going to be, but he's a 6'6" forward, and he's good at a lot of things. So, David Roddy, I feel like, has Draymond Green type potential, in the future for the type of player he could be. Jake LaRiva out of Indiana State University and Wake Forest is where he went to college. I think he transferred to Wake Forest. Jake LaRiva is actually a really good player as well. So they could afford to get rid of some guys and some draft picks if it means they're going to bring on Kevin Durant. And I actually came up with a trade for this. I think this is the most realistic trade scenario if they're going to land Kevin Durant, and it's a trade deal that I think the Nets would agree with. Shams actually came out and said that the Grizzlies are refusing to give up Jaren Jackson Jr. and they're refusing also to give up Desmond Bane. So that means that Brandon Clark is tradable, Dillon Brooks is tradable, Steven Adams is tradable, and so is Zaire Williams. And those are the 4 guys that I think they would have to give up if they want to get Kevin Durant, as well as 4, maybe 5 first-round picks. So the trade that I have going off for the Memphis Grizzlies to actually acquire Kevin Durant, and this works, I tried it, okay? Like, there's no trade exceptions, no nothing, okay? The Brooklyn Nets would, in exchange for Kevin Durant, okay, so the Grizzlies would get Kevin Durant, and the Brooklyn Nets would get Steven Adams, Dillon Brooks, Brandon Clark, Zaire Williams, the Memphis Grizzlies 2025 first-round pick, their 2027 first-round pick, a 2024 first-round pick via the Golden State Warriors, and the Grizzlies 2023 first-round pick. Now, these first-round picks aren't as attractive because the Grizzlies are obviously a good team now. You know, like a couple years ago, yeah, this would have been a haul for Kevin Durant. But I really feel like the Memphis Grizzlies would have to include another first-round pick if the Nets are really going to take it, just because the Grizzlies are a good team. Those picks are going to be late first-rounders. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, to me, I feel like if Brooklyn's to accept this trade, they're going to need at least one more first-round pick, maybe if they could find an early second-rounder from Memphis. If I'm looking at it right now, let me close this. If I look at the Memphis Grizzlies second-round picks, maybe the 2024 second-rounder via Indiana, Utah, or Cleveland. You know, they have options on that. They also have, what else do they got here? That's pretty much the only one. I feel like they would have to include that 2024 second-rounder via Indiana, Utah, or Cleveland, and I would imagine it would be via Indiana or Utah. Now, I doubt it would be Cleveland. So it's just the idea, like, the Memphis Grizzlies can make this happen, but it's going to be a haul for Kevin Durant. Obviously, it's Kevin Durant. But I really think that the Memphis Grizzlies could pull this off, and in, the 2 to 3 years it takes for their rookies to become prominent, wouldn't be that big of a loss. I really think, one of the guys I drafted in, Jake LaRiva, I think he can be a contributor almost immediately. I think David Roddy could be a contributor almost immediately. Xavier Tillman would get more playtime. Zaire Williams is a guy I'd like to see more out of, but he's going to end up going in the trade. Dillon Brooks is a solid player. Brandon Clark is a solid player. And, Steven Adams is pretty solid as well. They would have to find somebody to replace Steven Adams at center. I would assume Jaren Jackson would just move to the center position, but I don't know. He's more of a stretch big than anything. So I really don't know what they would do at the center position, but I will say this. Kevin Durant going to the Memphis Grizzlies is extremely attractive. They have the assets to make it happen, and they also have the assets to make it happen and not exactly, They have the assets to do it and not end up horrible. You know what I'm saying? And not for nothing, man, but those first-round picks getting traded to the Nets, who knows what they could become? You know what I'm saying? It's just, I just think, like, those first-round picks could be really, really huge for Brooklyn in the future. I just think, and the craziest part about this, I will say this, the craziest part about this trade, Steven Adams is on an expiring deal this season, Brandon Clark is on an expiring deal this season, and so is Dillon Brooks. So not only is Memphis getting Kevin Durant, but they're getting off expiring contracts as well. Like I said, it sucks they're giving up all the picks, but, Brandon Clark has a team option, which the Nets would obviously pick up. Dillon Brooks will be an unrestricted free agent, which I think they would be able to re-sign if they threw enough money at him. Steven Adams is 29 years old, 1 year left, worth basically $18 million, $17.9 million. Steven Adams is a guy they could bring back. I don't know if they will. You know what I'm saying? It's Steven Adams. He's good, but he's not, like, amazing by any means. And Zaire Williams has 3 years left on his deal, so he's 20 years old, 6'8", small forward, 215 pounds, you know what I'm saying? You might be able to turn him into something. So it's just the idea, man. The Brooklyn Nets would be getting a lot of decent assets, and they would be, the Grizzlies would get Kevin Durant, but I think if John Morant can get himself a Kevin Durant, and keep Jaren Jackson, keep Desmond Bane, you have Jake LaRiva, you have David Roddy, you know what I'm saying? Could fuck around and have something, pretty serious. Now, do I think a trade like this makes Memphis like a lock to win a championship? No, absolutely not. But I will say this, I definitely think it puts them in the conversation for Western Conference Finals. Like, I definitely think it makes them a Western Conference Finals team, but it's just the idea, like, that's also, pending on a lot of really good things happening for them. That's pending on all the rookies they drafted becoming the guys that they think they are. I think Jake LaRiva I think he's a solid pick. I think he'll be really good. I think David Roddy will be really good. But Kennedy Chandler is probably not going to see much playing time. They did get Tyus Jones, like I said. So, they've got some bench pieces. They'd be keeping Desmond Bane. It's just a matter of, can they find another center? Can they find some more bench pieces to make it work? Even if their bench consisted of, like, Tyus Jones, Danny Green, who they just traded for, Jake LaRiva, David Roddy, and somebody at center, I don't know who. If they could just find another center, like a decent center, their bench unit would be, something interesting to watch, I feel. So, I don't know, man. We have to wait and see, but definitely some interesting news. I definitely think Memphis can make it happen. It's just the idea is Brooklyn going to like the haul they're going to get for Kevin Durant? I think they're one of the few teams. Memphis was one of the teams that I thought originally should have been in the hunt for Kevin Durant, and they weren't. And I wish I would have made a video earlier about this, because I'm not even kidding. When the Kevin Durant rumors first came out, I knew Memphis could make it happen, but I didn't make a video on it because it wasn't one of the destinations where Kevin Durant wanted to go, so I didn't even bother with it. But now that, there's rumors that they're expressing interest, Kevin Durant now has interest in the 76ers. Memphis was number 2 in the West last year, you know what I'm saying? Like, Kevin Durant could magically become interested in going there. So it just sucks. I wish I would have made this video earlier, you know what I'm saying, about, Memphis being interested in them, or Memphis at least having the ability to acquire them, because I knew they always did, especially after the draft. But I don't know, man. You know what? We'll have to wait and see. I kind of hope this happens. I think this would make the West incredibly interesting, because right now the East is better than the West, and if you take Kevin Durant out of the East and put him on the West, suddenly the conferences feel kind of even, almost, you know what I'm saying? So, I don't know, man. We'll have to wait and see, but tell me what you guys think about this down below in the comment section below. A like helps me out. Subscribe if you guys want to see more on the Fast Break Report, and I'm out of this motherfucker. Peace, guys.